There are 6 relay towers in Fallout 4. I've already done 3 of them. Today we will cover number 4. This one is called Radio Tower 3SM-U81. It's interesting that Bethesda deviates from the conventional naming Relay Tower to Radio Tower in this case. I'm not sure why. You can find Radio Tower 3SM-U81 northeast of the General Atomics Galleria. When you arrive, you see 3 blood bugs feasting on a Brahmin corpse. Once dead, you can then use the terminal to extend the satellite dishes to broadcast the signals. We find 3 signals coming from this radio tower. The first is the automated radio alarm. The signal gets stronger as you travel southeast of the radio tower.
Reactor 3 in sublevel is malfunctioning. Radiation levels critical. Immediate service is required.
The signal emanates from the mass fusion containment shed. We explored this shed in yesterday's video, which you can watch here. But through the locked door in the very back of the building, just across from a fusion core, we find a hatch in the ground that leads to the reactor level. Inside, we hear an alarm going off.
Reactor 3 in sublevel is malfunctioning. Radiation levels...
Unlike many of the other bunkers connected to these relay towers, you can only turn this one off by flipping a circuit breaker on the back of the machinery in the middle of the room.
Sublevel is malfunctioning.
This ends the automated radio alarm and the sirens stop. But what's interesting about this room is that if you toggle the free cam and walk outside the bounds of the room, you can actually find a ham radio hovering in the air far off away from the room. You can activate it, but nothing happens. Why is this here? Well, a couple of possibilities. Maybe the scripts associated with these series of relay towers depends upon a ham radio being in the vicinity. Or maybe the group of people who originally made this room placed a ham radio inside and then realized that it wouldn't make sense for an automated alarm to be coming from a ham radio. And so instead of deleting the ham radio, they simply pushed it outside the bounds of the room. This isn't the first time Bethesda has done this. Watch my video on the Boston Library here to find another example of this. But whatever the reason, there's a floating ham radio in this room, but it's the circuit breaker you need to trigger. Next up is the Green Brier radio signal. The signal gets stronger if you head directly east of the radio tower or if coming from the mass fusion containment shed walking northeast.
Please, anyone, help us. We're stuck in an old bunker next to the river. Those things are crawling around up there. We're trapped. If you can hear this, just kill those things and get us out of here. Please, we're running out of food. I'll give you whatever you want.
Be careful. The noises that the man on the radio refers to are likely mirelurks. As you approach the water, you can stumble upon a mirelurk queen. In my game, I found her fighting a group of rust devils. After the epic battle, look for an abandoned campsite to find this bunker. It actually took me a while to find it. The campsite has a locked cooler, a picnic table, and the bunker itself is cleverly hidden amongst some shrubbery. Inside, we find the skeleton of a woman lying next to the ham radio from which the signal is coming. The man's skeleton is lying at the ladder that leads into the bunker. We find a slew of coolers all over the place. But this is a puzzling scene. I get the impression that we're to believe that this event happened before the war, just before the bombs dropped. A man and his wife are coming down to a picnic area by the water to have a nice picnic. They bring a lot of food with them in coolers. They know that public parks include a lot of fallout bunkers in case of nuclear war. They're out having a picnic the day the bombs drop. In a panic, they grab all of their food coolers except one, which they forget and leave behind, and dive into the bunker. There, they find a ham radio and record their message mentioning the noises above ground, and eat away at their food until it completely runs out. Then the two starve to death. The thing that's confusing about this is the man gave the impression in his ham radio call that there were mirelurks or monsters of some sort walking around above him. But if this happened the day the bombs dropped, mirelurks would not have had any chance to mutate. Mirelurks mutated from lobsters or crabs or something. They couldn't have mutated overnight. It must have taken years at least best for this new species of monster to have evolved. I suppose the picnic could have happened long after the bombs dropped, but who in this post-apocalyptic wasteland is going to fill a bunch of coolers with food and bring his sweetheart to a shore that he knows is likely infested with mirelurks? So I'm not exactly sure how to best interpret this. As you exit the bunker, off in the distance you can see a short tower on a hillside. The tower itself appears to be abandoned. What's interesting is all of the science equipment that we find. We find fuses, tubes, circuit boards. Even the terminal is a high-tech terminal that you can build at a settlement, not one you typically find. From this terminal, you can activate a nearby Protectron. This is a strange place to find a Protectron charging station. You can climb a ladder to get on top of the roof, but we only find a chair. We don't see anything else. I suppose we're to take it that maybe some wastelander who loved science and robots set up camp here and tinkered with his Protectrons until someone ran him off. Now, this is also close to a random encounter location. If you go back down the hill, in the middle of the road is the random encounter location. In my game, I stumbled upon Smiling Larry.
You looking to trade? Smiling Larry's got what you want.
Back up the hill, from the tower you can see two cars lodged in a tree off in the distance. Once you get there, you get attacked by rad scorpions.
Come on, baby! Show me what you've got! Nice try! That was easy.
This is a strange sight. How did these cars get here? Well, what likely happened is that these trees originally were on the ground, and a new tree grew up through the cars, elevating them over time. And honestly, I'm surprised we don't see more of this. The sheer number of blasted out cars in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is staggering. If new plant life really can grow in this nuclear wasteland, then surely we would see more trees that have grown up during the past 200 years. Likely growing through buildings and growing through vehicles like we see in this case. The fact that this is somewhat unique is the strange thing. The third signal is the Nautical radio signal. This signal gets stronger as you follow the shoreline south of the bunker we just left.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Merchant Vessel Western Belle. We are in immediate need of assistance. Over. Boston, this is Western Belle. We have no power and we're in very rough seas. Do you copy? Hey, we need help out here. Where the hell is everyone?
As we pass a drainage pipe, we come upon a wrecked ship. We don't find any skeletons on the ship, but there is a door that leads to the ship's cabin. Inside the cabin, we find the ham radio, which is the source of the nautical radio signal. There are also no skeletons inside the cabin. I guess we can assume that the captain and crew of this vessel lost contact with mainland Boston the day the bombs dropped. They drifted, unable to navigate for a long time, possibly dying out at sea and having their corpses picked off by flying birds, or maybe they died slowly one by one and the remaining people threw their bodies overboard. At last, the ship drifted up the river until it drifted to shore where animals could board to devour the remaining crew, or allowing the remaining crew to escape if they were still alive. In the cabin, we find one locked cooler and a sea captain's hat. Just outside, we find steps in the earth that leads up the hill. Walking up the steps, we come across a bunch of wrecked cars, many of which are covered in skeletons. One car in particular has a male and female skeleton on the hood. This must have been the position they were in as the bombs dropped. I don't think it's a coincidence that this leads directly to the small settlement and farm called Breakheart Banks. Breakheart Banks was likely the pre-war name of this scenic attraction for lovers, where young men and women would break each other's hearts. But now super mutants inhabit the place, where instead of breaking hearts, they break skulls. It's a challenging fight.
I guess it's clear after all.
Something's out there.
hear something.
Particularly because Breakheart Banks is right next to a military checkpoint. If you've completed the game and sided with the faction, you'll likely get an alert to defend this nearby military checkpoint. So it is possible to run up these steps to Breakheart Banks and into 2 huge fights.
Eliminated.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the full story of Radio Tower 3SM-U81, a unique relay tower that does not share the same naming convention as any of the others and has its own set of interesting stories and mysteries. Never fear, ladies and gentlemen, I will be getting through all 6 of these relay towers, 2 more left to go. So be sure to subscribe so that you get notified when I publish my next video. Do you have any thoughts on the relay towers in Fallout 4? Leave your comments in the comment section below. I read all of your comments and I use them as inspiration for my future videos. And if you'd like to chat about this topic with other like-minded individuals on the Oxhorn Community Discord server, twirl down the Show More button in the description below to find an invitation link to my Discord server. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video today. Thanks for watching from the bottom of my heart, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.